Okay, so this is the backboard, cardboard, and I'm not advocating that you have to buy one of these. This is a more of a professional grade, and I just used to do a lot of framing at one point, and so it was reasonable to buy. But the same concept, whether you're cutting it with a straight edge and using an X-Acto, same concept. I'm just using the equipment that I have, but I'm not advocating that you have to go out there and buy this. So 16. I'm also going to look at this thing and sort of try to be as conservative as possible with the paper. So if I go 14 inches, I know I can cut this piece, and I know the 16, so I've got a little bit less waste. So take a minute, look at the paper that you're cutting, and try to be strategic in how you're cutting the paper, so you have as large of a piece maybe for the next job. Getting ready to cut it, it's at 14 inches, it's square on the edge, drop down, and that's a 16 inch, and that's 14. Now we're going to cut the 16 inch, flip it in, slide it over, and set this thing at, let's make sure, this is 14 inch, so now we need a 16 inch. Set this thing on the index of 16 inches. Cut it, and then that's the backing board. Now, as I said, this comes with two cutters. It's got a cutter for cutting paper, cardboard, and then this is a glass cutter. The next step in our project is we're going to cut a piece of glass, 14 by 16 inches. Here's a piece of glass. I've selected this glass because it's somewhat in the shape, and I know that instead of using a big old sheet and cutting it and ending up a whole bunch of waste, I've taken one that's somewhat the size of the piece of glass that I want to cut. So let's go check this. So look at that. It's already 14 inches. So all we need to do is make one cut, 16 inches. I'm going to kind of look at this and make sure that there's no unusual or weird or scratches or something on it. And if there is, I'm going to use the other side. We'll call one side the good side, and one side is going to be the waste side. So we know that this side is 14 inches, and we're going to cut another piece, 16. And using this particular device, I have to set the edge of the glass at 16 and about an 8 because of the offset. This is not directly on this edge. That has to do with the characteristics of this particular cutter. Anyway, glass cutter, use safety equipment. Notice that I've got these gloves. These are great gloves. I'm not advocating you buy these, but Ansel at Zorro Tools, they sell them. Why I like them, they have plenty of protection. But they also have the dexterity that's wonderful to use. And as always, especially with glass, put your eyeglasses on. These are safety glasses. Okay, so cutting glass, fairly simple. You're going to listen for this little... Oh, we have to unlock it first. Now we got the glass cutter portion of this ready. I don't know if you could hear that, but it makes a little... You take this edge to the edge, and I just cut the glass right here, and I place the glass on the edge of this board. And now, with somewhat of a firm hand, I'm just going to pop it like that, and there's my piece. This is the actual piece that we're using. Okay, so this is this, and this is the cardboard. Those are the last two pieces. We're going to now put everything together. Let's go back to the other table. Okay, so now we're going to be cleaning the glass. We've cut the glass. It's actually 13 by 16 to be exact. And a glass cleaner, I'm using this only because I have it. I'm not saying this is what you should use. Vinegar, in the old days I would just use vinegar. They make better cloths than this one. This one does leave a little bit of lint, but again, I'm not going to go nuts. The main thing is that you get it clean. And now let's say this is the outside of the glass. I don't have to go nuts in cleaning the outside of the glass, but I have to go nuts and clean the inside of the glass, because once it's all put back together and framed up, you're not going to get this thing apart. Well, you can take it apart, but then you're talking about destroying everything that you put together. So the point is, the part of the glass, which is the inside, which is the part that the artwork is sitting on, make sure that it's nice and clean. Nothing worse than finishing up a beautiful job, and then you end up with this nasty little flick of something in the glass and everybody is going to see it, and they're going to say, what a cheesy job, what an amateur. As I'm cleaning the glass, I'm being very aware that these are very sharp edges, being very careful not to slide my hand across it because it will cut it. So be careful, respect glass. It's like a four-sided knife, if you will. Bring the artwork back in. Take another look at the artwork and let's make sure that there's nothing here that we can't get rid of, because this is going to be the time to get rid of it. I'm going to look very carefully all around the perimeter, make sure that there's no finger marks, dirt. I do see it's very subtle. You probably won't see with the camera, but it is visible here. I'm also being careful that as I'm erasing this, not to erase the filings inside of the painting. I'm keeping it so that I can easily flick it off and get it off the board. Okay, I know that this is the good side of the glass, and let's go ahead and if we place it on top, this almost tends to work like a bloody magnifying glass. And now you're going to be able to take a look and say, you know what, not bad, or oops, I got a little flick there. Nope, that's on the... This is more or less put together. That's it. You've got double mats, you've got the artwork that's hinged, you've got the backing board. We are at the close to the final stages. Here's the frame. The painting, the glass, the mat boards all fit in one piece. Let's take one final look, make sure we don't have any pieces of trash underneath the glass. We drop the glass in place. It's going to end up looking like this. One last thing we have to do is we're going to staple this thing to the side so that it will contain. Okay, so how we're going to staple this thing, I'm going to use, this is a pneumatic tool, uses, well, they're really like a staple. I'm using this thing because I've had it for a long time, and it is connected to an air compressor, but this is basically what it is, and we're going to shoot these things along the side to hold this paper up against the front side of the frame. So again, I'm not advocating that this is what you have to have. This is what I'm using, and this is part of the demonstration. So I'm keeping the gun far enough away. If I'm too close to it, it's going to shoot these staples right through the frame. That's about it. Okay, so now we'll flip it over, and we can kind of see that that's it. Okay, so we're not completely done yet. Now, if you're doing it professionally, if you will, you do put what they call a little, it's a piece of paper, you wet it, you put glue along this edge, you put the paper on it, it stretches, and it makes it like a little drum. But for this particular painting, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to worry about it. Okay, so what we lack now is to put the hangers on it, and we're going to use this little owl. You measure down about 1/3. If we broke this thing into thirds, 1/3, 2/3, we put the hooks here. I'm just using this owl to kind of pre-drill it. Now I'm going to measure this distance right to there and get it exactly in the same spot on this side. And I poke it in, pre-drill it almost, if you will. These are the little eye hooks, eyelets.
Use the tool to embed it into the wood even deeper. And that's probably pretty good right there. So the other side. Okay, that's that.
Now, this is the wire. This is picture hanger wire. This is rather thin. If you're going to be hanging something much thicker, you can go, this is very strong actually, this would work for something 2, 3, 4 times as big as this. But if you had a thicker painting, bigger painting, heavier painting, you would get a wire that's much thicker than that. Pass it through the eyelet, and it's nothing more than just a bunch of loops around. You might give it an extra 2, 3 inches, and then you wrap it. It becomes pretty strong. If you pull on this thing, it holds it. Same thing on this side. Pass it through the eyelet. In terms of how much tension, how long do you make this? Good question. Cut this using these wires. If you have it too tight, it's really hard to hook this onto a hook. If you got too much of a sag, then it sits off of the wall too much. So you want it to be, you want it to have a little bit of give, not much, not too little. And so this probably gives us maybe, it might give us about a 3/4 of an inch. Okay, I'm doing the other side, and this. All right, and there we go. And that's how you frame your own painting. Hope that helps you.